Okay, Joe, let's make the magic happen once again. No,
Whoa!
I'm still so happy to be chatting with you more frequently.
Likewise.
This is just so nice. I mean, I can't believe we've known each other for, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
it's like 15 or so,
I
20
mean, I
even.
treat it depends on knowing because I remember the first time seeing you, it was the Pass Summit in Texas with the hurricane,
Oh my God.
and I was the first time I saw you speak. I didn't get a chance to talk to you.
Was
I
it
probably would have been too
partitioning? I want to
shy.
say that was
And
partitioning,
you had
maybe.
like a massive laptop. Is that right? I
We'd
remember
get
thinking,
those
what is this
huge
thing? Yeah.
the Alienware, the Dell rebranded Alienware laptops, which were gaming laptops, but the gaming laptops always had better memory, better processors, but
Yeah.
they were
I mean, still
huge.
today with it, when you want a GPU, you get a gaming
Totally.
laptop. But I remember seeing you
It
and
was
thinking,
12 pounds,
whoa,
though. Joe, that
yeah,
laptop was 12
I bet
pounds.
that's like a scoliosis laptop. So,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Well, now today, speaking, I mean, so many years later, not only are laptops so much smaller, like I love taking my laptop on trips now. It's so thin. And
Mhm.
anyway, but today I wanted to ask you about all of the AI tools that you use that make you so much more effective and productive. Because every time I talk to you, when we didn't have things recorded, you'd be like, oh, I was just working on this thing and I trained it to know my voice so that I could script this and tell a story. And then I tried this out and I'm just like, that's really cool. Like
Yeah.
I like, and that maybe isn't specific to something that would help you with like SQL Server, but there's just so many things that you can do much more easily and much more quickly. I've been looking, and I didn't tell you this. I bought a subscription, and I'm embarrassed because I bought it right before I left on vacation. And of course, my motivation was, ooh, I'm going to take 20 minutes a day while I'm on vacation and study AI. And of course, I didn't do that. And I'm hoping I have to figure out what my subscription will allow me to do now. I'm sure I can start now, but have you heard of cursive? It's apparently
No.
it's not spelled like it sounds, but anyway, it's like an AI training environment and it gets you access to a lot of the different AI tools for a lower initial cost so that you can go through their like 20 minutes a day to start learning how to prompt things better and which tools are better for which things, which I know you're going to tell me a bunch of today, but I was also hoping to do that. And, there's so much that's available that can make you more productive. And in our last session, we talked about the sheer fact that there's so many abilities to learn new things,
Yeah.
using AI to help you learn more efficiently is also a very cool thing. So, anyway, this is way more on you than me because I'm still an AI novice and I am so in awe of all the cool things. I'm actually going to get a notepad for today as well
All
because
right.
I mean, I could just go
Yeah.
back to the recording, I realize, but I know there's going to be a few things that I'm going to want to try after this. And I did a Copilot search asking it in 2026, what are the top AI tools? Now, Microsoft Copilot might be a little bit more skewed, and we've talked about that too, how some of these are
I
a
don't
little
work for
bit,
them.
I
Oh,
know, I
uh-oh.
know, but
Yeah.
nor do I, but it might be a little bit more skewed because it mentions ChatGPT, which I agree that probably is one of the top tools because it's
It's like the
so
Kleenex
and
of
it's so
tissue paper.
easy. Like
Yeah, yeah,
everybody just chat GPTs, and just
yeah.
goes. And I've been using Chat on AI, which is just a little iPhone app, because sometimes I'll ask Siri and Siri's like, "Do you want me to ask AI?" And then I'm like, "Yes." But then sometimes I don't necessarily like the response I got or I want more details. So then I go to this little tool, which I'm sure it's not the best. I'm sure there's better ones. But again, I've gone kind of simply with what is quick and easy and fast, quick and easy and
Yeah, that's
fast.
fine.
But I know there's better tools, and that's why I'm getting my pen
Well,
ready.
by the way, I better tools we can debate it because there's so many different colors of crayons in this crayon box that it's
Uh,
like so I'm just going to say this up front like these are my preferences and people are going
oh,
to have
sure.
different experiences And
No,
and
but you've told me
yeah,
those things. Like, I like
yeah,
this one for helping
I
me
do.
with
Oh, it's
coding, and I
100%.
like this one. Yeah.
I am very I have a subscription sprawl like you would not believe.
It's
So
very cool.
well, I can dive in. I can dive.
Yeah.
Let me start with the number one thing that I think is just a must-have now, and it's Anthropic's Claude. Just
Okay.
Anthropic Claude is killing it.
Cl-
Yes, Claude AI, and then we'll have a separate discussion of Claude Code, which is
okay. Well,
the
that's yes.
life-changing
I
Claude.
remember you telling me about that. That
Yeah.
was the one that I knew I wanted to get from you. Was
Yeah,
Claude
so
Code.
Claude AI,
Yeah.
let's just talk about that as like, okay, I go into my browser. It's the same ChatGPT experience that you're
Okay.
familiar with, probably even less so than ChatGPT because ChatGPT has images and it's much more full-fledged. It multimodal, although Anthropic can look at images as well. But I just wanted to say for just quick chats and discussions, I still go to ChatGPT. I'll go to
Okay.
ChatGPT for fact checking. I find that its 5.2 model is much better in doing, especially when it's in deep thinking mode.
Okay. Oh yeah,
So
I've seen that
ChatGPT,
now. Yeah.
yeah. So do the, by the way, I might open up a little browser just to, like, as I just get the different names so I can be a little bit more precise. So ChatGPT, let's see here, point two, and I think they call it the thinking mode, is
Okay.
the one that, yes, thinking. That one takes a while, by the way. So, but I will do that if I'm like, take a look at this. Does this seem right? Fact check this.
Right.
It's very good at that. But Claude is the writer, it's the thinker, it's the poet, it's got personality.
Okay.
Whatever they're doing in their pre and their post training, like it's chef's kiss. And so for
Okay.
a while, they have been my go-to when I want a more human response to something where I want to like
Okay.
really
Okay.
think about it and have a conversation back and forth. And by the way, it's not limited to just like the arts. I will work with Claude for a financial planning kind of exercise where I'll
Okay.
say, okay, imagine I have X number of shares in this ETF, create a chart for me. And then also, if my goal is to get X, do a Monte Carlo simulation to see what my probability of hitting that mark is. And it'll do the Monte Carlo simulation and it'll do the
Wow.
chart out. And it can create in app, like you can have like different parameters and change and configure and slide. And so it can create that all within the browser experience. So Claude can get it can go into the science, it can go into the coding. Just the part that I want to make sure I'm crystal clear about though is as it communicates, I think it's the best communicator. I
Okay.
think it has the most soul. And I'm not trying to anthropomorphize this, but it just has the best taste.
Yeah.
Whereas ChatGPT, it's been all over the place, depending on the model. You know, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It does. Have you heard the term glazing?
No.
So
Maybe.
glazing,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think
So it's
so.
basically like there's. I remember. I'll give you a really good example of glazing for when I wanted to go independent. So I'm planning. I think this one was with ChatGPT, and I'm saying, hey, I'm thinking of going independent. Here's my circumstances. Da da da. Can I feel confident in my decisions here? I'll open up an LLC.
And it was
And it's
super positive,
it was
wasn't it?
super positive, but it got worse though. So then like it got like super like smoke blown my way because then I said, by the way, here's a link to my website and here's my
Oh
background.
no.
And it said, oh, you're the Joe Sack. I thought, oh God, give me a break. By the way, you will not be glazed. This happened yesterday, Kimberly. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. Yesterday was on Claude Code, and we'll get back to this. Sorry, I'm going to pop the second. We'll
No,
go
no, no,
back.
no. Go ahead.
So one technique I use with Claude Code is I will spawn sub-agent personalities to take different angles of an idea, and it will spawn them out, and then I'll have them debate with each other and then come back to me with consensus. And so one of the
Wow.
things yeah, and so we'll talk about this. I did this actually for one of my dad's Substacks. He did the whole thing, and I had a bunch of deep scientific experts take different angles and then give him feedback. He had asked for this. So, anyway, I said, okay, for this particular subject, this is SQL related. So, pick the top experts in SQL. And I swear, you're going to be like, whoever's listening is going to like roll their eyes, but I swear to God, this happened. Claude Code said, oh, I'll spawn Kimberly Tripp and Paul Randall for these two things, and then I'll spawn Bob Ward for this third thing. So, they picked you three
No
for him.
kidding.
Yeah, they
That's
spawned through, and I'm like,
hilarious.
well, I could just ask her. But anyway,
Yeah.
but
I could
anyway,
just
the
call her.
glazing, yeah, the glazing thing. So you're in the model. The
That's
glazing thing
funny.
happened with when I was
Wait,
asking
now
about
who
my
won though?
LLC.
I want to know. Bob Ward.
Well, I let all three of you review it, and
That's
you did a
so
good job.
funny. Well, thank you.
So,
Thank
but
you.
when it was glazing me on the business idea, I said, please don't do this. Like I said, you're glazing me. And I said, give me the objective as much as you can view of what my probability of success is in going independent in these kinds of areas and doing this kind of work. And then it dialed it way back and it said, you're right. Given the market and given what's going on, it's unclear how well you can do in X and how well you can do in that. And given your background, you probably could get some business on Y. And it completely brought it back to earth. And I'm like, thank you. And so you have to, and by the way, normally my system prompts. So with ChatGPT, with Claude, with all these different things, you can add preferences. And I have it now very clear in my preferences, like don't glaze me, don't say things just to be agreeable, ask questions. That's another big one that is life-changing. Tell it to ask questions, clarifying questions.
Right.
And then the other thing is if you don't know something, you tell it. If you don't know, say something. So long story short is glazing is a real problem though if you just let it out of the box. So if you just say, hey, it's my first time logging into Claude or ChatGPT, because they were all reinforced to have this kind of, it's all about engagement, right? And what's more engagement than somebody telling you how smart you are or how wonderful you are? You know, like there's nothing more engaging than that.
And being very
so in a way that's
supportive
our
of
fault.
whatever you're asking, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah. It's why you can get they call it like AI psychosis. You know, there are people who like and oftentimes these are not just people that were like teetering on the edge. Like these are folks that like have had long-standing careers, great reputations. They will get convinced by the AI that they've come up with a new algorithm or they've solved some kind of scientific problem or they've discovered something, and it will keep this reinforcement in the conversation. And then they think, I've made it. This is my beautiful idea. And they've never once gotten the outside perspective, and they've got the spell that the AI keeps going.
Right.
So it's very important to make your AI almost adversarial in how it interacts with you, which is also why I pull the sub-agents. We can get to that subject today too.
No, that's fascinating. And I found that like going into ChatGPT, like it's always unicorns and rainbows happy, you know, and it just seems like, and there was one day where I was asking it for something and I want to say it was a logo and it said, okay, I'm going to go do that. And it spun its wheels, and finally went, why is this taking so long? And it said, well, you have to go to a different tool. I can't do that. And I just thought, well, why did it say it was off doing that thing, making me think it was doing it and that it was just taking some time? And then I like walked away for an hour and I'm like, what's going on? And it had just totally lied, basically saying, I'm going to go do this thing. It's going to take me a while. But then when I finally said, what's going on? It was like, nope, can't do it. And I was just like, why?
It will do that. And by the way, all of them will do this. A lot of the agentic mechanisms will do this. If you're not careful, they will cut corners. They will say, like, did we talk about the LLM Council? Like there's an Andre Karpathy LLM Council that he created this GitHub repo, and basically
I feel like we did, but not in depth.
Okay.
So
well, just the TLDR of it is that it allows you to send a prompt to multiple LLMs, and then you have a judge, and then you can get a higher quality response because you're basically, diversifying the input across a bunch of different LLMs. And but there were times where I've used Claude Code. I forked his LM Council, and I created like my own variation of it and tried different things, different models. And I remember one time I pushed a document through to the council. I said, have the council review this. And then later on, I looked at my usage, and I saw that it only called one of the LLMs, not the other three that it was supposed to. I said, why didn't you call the others? And it was like, oh, I didn't think it was needed. And I said, but you reported as if you had run it past the council. And it said, you're right. So like you will see these shortcuts where it won't tell you unless you're watching for it. So I'm kind of building this in with all this excitement.
Yeah.
They've also learned, and there's no intent here, so I'm not ascribing that, but I'm just saying that these models are very agreeable, which also means that they won't tell you when they cut corners.
Interesting.
Which should, by the way, worry you if you ever want to connect your AI to a SQL Server database, because if that's a production database,
and it cuts corners and takes some shortcut and somebody's, one person recommended XYZ configuration.
What's the fastest way to improve performance? Well, delete all rows from the table. That's a really fast query after that.
It's really fast.
Yeah. So you have to be careful. All right. So kind of back to Claude, I find has the most taste, and they're killing it. By the way, Anthropic is just doing so well. And there's a lot of stealth usage. I hear Microsoft is now beginning to use a lot of Claude Code behind the scenes. Claude Code is Anthropic's offering, which we could talk
Right.
about. And
Right.
so you always know, I remember back in the day when Balmer was still around and I had to hide my iPhone. And I'm like, my precious, I called it. And I would hide my precious because there'd be some offices where you were not allowed to show any Apple products.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I feel like we're not quite in that same zone right now where people are hiding it, but still, it's like it's not Copilot. Maybe Copilot running Claude. I don't know. Like there's ways that you can thread that.
Yeah.
But Anthropic Claude, just for the overall artistry, the taste. ChatGPT fact checking is very good. Perplexity has had its. That's another one to write down. Perplexity is a good
You're so
way.
far in the top 10 AI tools that I've listed on there. And
Okay,
I'm
good.
watching to see if the ones you're mentioning are there. But ChatGPT is number one. Claude, I don't think they're actually in any specific list, but
Okay,
ChatGPT,
got it.
Claude AI, and
Got it.
Perplexity AI are one, three, and six.
Got it. Okay, got it. Yeah. So Perplexity, I will, by the way, some people are critical of them as like just a wrapper, but I find like, and by that I mean like, oh, they just wrap around other people's foundation models.
Okay.
But I find that they're good for fact checking as well, and they're fast. So if I need a quick
Okay.
fact check, I find that
Offers fast and precise AI driven
yeah,
search capabilities, making it a valuable tool for research and information retrieval. So
yes,
it's
yeah, yeah,
exactly
yeah.
how
So
they describe it.
yeah, and I've been using that for a while. By the way, for those of you who like podcasts, if you listen to Lenny's podcast, it's just like a product manager podcast, and you buy his annual subscription, you actually get the first year of Perplexity Pro for free. So like, and by the way, I don't have any like money in this. It's just something to be aware of. If you're ever going to buy Lenny's podcast, you get like a year off. Mine is long gone. I pay the $20 a month.
Yeah.
But Perplexity is really
Well,
good. So we got
and
Perplex.
hey, take a step back.
Yeah.
You find that personally worth it. I mean, it sounds like you do. I mean, I know you do.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But do you think that people should buy these subscriptions even if their businesses don't find them valuable?
So I mean, okay, so let's talk about a few themes that maybe we weave in and out. And by the way,
Yeah.
I would put the mic a little bit up,
Oh, yeah.
just a little bit. There we go.
Is that better, Joe?
Beautiful, beautiful.
Okay.
So I first of all, I understand that this is a lot. And so people paying out of pocket, it's nice for me to say, just
Yeah.
buy it. And so I get that. This is a complete luxury item.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I remember, and we were talking about this last time, like, I mean, I remember the old school going to the library and having to get access to this stuff. Okay. And so, hey, a special guest star in the house.
Special guest star is Andre
Yeah.
again.
No, Andre. Andre heard me say Andre Carpathy, like LLM
He did. He's like,
super.
here I am.
So I just remember the library time of life, like, and if I could have paid for the library to be hooked up to my house, I would have done
Right
so.
here.
Yeah,
For sure.
and
Just the
and
time
so
to get dressed, like as a
yeah,
girl, right? I couldn't go to the library not looking decent because I could run into boy, or whatever, you know what I mean? So, like, for me, it was like a whole production: get dressed, get my car, drive over to the library, park, go in, and then you're in the library for a couple of hours. It's a lot. So,
yeah, yeah. So just I find that like these are like, would you like access to this library for $20 a month? Absolutely. This access to the technology, access to this expertise. And the thing is, I'm always nervous relying on one source. So if you hear me
oh,
say
for
I'm using
sure.
this, and this, and this, it's because I want that adversarial, like I want to compare and contrast the different responses because there are times when this will hallucinate and it will
Yeah.
be wildly off. It'll give you the wrong dividend amount. It'll say this one happens with SQL Server all the time, by the way. SQL Server 2025 Gemini, with its latest foundation model, many, many times says, no, 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 SQL Server 2025 is not out yet. Okay. And so it will, when you ask it to fact check something, it won't even start the conversation because it's saying, oh,
It
2025 isn't
doesn't
out yet. And by the
exist.
way, it's a very, very good set of models. Google is really killing it as well, but they have these drop-offs and flaws depending on the subject. So you
Yeah.
have to build in a healthy diversification of input
Yeah.
and don't believe the hype. And the best way to do it is at least two or more opinions.
Yeah.
And you can build these in. That's why I have the LLM console where I'll send off an opinion and just go, okay, that's great, Claude Code, that you think that.
Yeah,
Let's see
yeah.
what these other four
Do
models
other
think.
people think that too?
Yeah.
Well, I used to say that all the time that, there's tons of information on the internet, and just because you stumble on somebody's opinion that some
Yeah.
setting should be a certain way, depending on who's giving that recommendation and whether or not have they looked at it in a vacuum, have they tested these other things against it? Because I there were times where something that I recommended, even somebody in class would be like, well, so and so recommends that you turn this on. And the first thing I would be is like, who's so and so?
Yeah.
Because, part of that is I want to know who it is, because depending on who it is, I might know that they've done a lot of research or not a lot of
Yeah.
research.
Oh, it matters.
And if I don't know the person, then I'll be like, okay, that might be totally what they needed in their environment. But maybe if we get out of here, and now another guest appearance, by Psycho
Andre the
Paul.
Giant.
Yeah, exactly. But, that's one of the things that I think, and because the LLMs have learned off the internet, right? They've seen different things that are true and sometimes not true. And because they've learned off those things, are they assuming most of those things are true so they can take all of that information and say, yes, this is what we've seen? I mean, like, that's something that I'm intrigued by, because like you say, hallucinations and so forth are definitely a concern. I want multiple sources. I want to snope something. I want to check something. I want to read the article,
And then that will put you in the minority, though. That's the dangerous part here. And I think that's also why a lot of DBAs in particular are nervous about this, because it's because we know human nature is, don't make me think, right?
Yeah.
Just give me the answer. And the problem is that we're about to create this entire era of folks that didn't have to do this by hand. And then all of a sudden they're going to be getting advice from the super brain. But when you're an expert, you will find things that are wrong in the responses all the time.
Yeah.
And so, and they're very nuanced. Even when I was on this latest stint at Microsoft, I working on the natural language to SQL functionality. So we were looking at create natural language to SQL based on this schema, derive the query based on natural language. And there would be numerous anti-patterns that would surface from the web that have been old myths. Like if you took Paul's old myth course, did he have a myth course in Pluralsight? Mythbusters.
Yeah.
There were ones that were literally pulled from that, because that is what the model was trained on. The good information and the bad information.
Wow.
And so there would be times where the T-SQL that was generated was there was one that was sys processes, and where something equals one. I'm not going to be able to remember the specific example, but it was something where I'm like, why are you doing that? Oh, we're SPID greater than 50. Do you remember that one?
Yes, that you wouldn't see system processes. But SPID,
so I mean, some things that might have been even partially true, some things that... Again, this model is pattern matching. It was trained on this data. And so you better check. Even with good RAG, even with good retrieval augmented generation, it can get it wrong.
No, and I think that's important in general. And I think I said this in one of our earlier discussions, that I read this article, the irony, a link was posted on Facebook about link posting on Facebook, and how over 60% of the links posted, the person who posted it hadn't even clicked on the article. And that, to me, blew my mind, that people would so blindly take a headline with keywords or buzzwords and just forward that on, either because it met their personal agenda or whatever. And it's
very natural. It's very natural.
It is, but it's also, to me, how could they do that? How can you forward an article without reading it?
You're rolling the dice. You're rolling the dice. The other big one, though, is citations. There was just a study. I just wrote about this one on Substack, where the study it's basically, these citation links are oftentimes hallucinated, more than you would like. And the thing is, it'll pick a name that's a good name. It's an actual, you'll look at the names and go, yep, those are people that write about this. And then the rest is hallucinated.
So it hallucinated the actual article or citation.
Yeah.
It's funny. Leslie, she is a teacher. I don't know if I want to say the university or anything, but she did kind of a test with her students and said, I want you to do this particular project all with AI. And when she got the articles, she said, and got the papers, she said that a lot of the citations were incorrect or didn't
Yeah.
exist.
It's a big
And I
tell.
think that's fascinating. I don't, I mean, the kids were told to use AI. I don't know if they were necessarily told to trust it. But like for me, if I had a paper, even if it was written by AI, I feel like I would click on the citations. I feel like I would want to know what the sources were that were used. And I feel like I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure. If I think back to when I was in my 20s, now I feel like I would click on the citations.
Of
I don't know
course.
if I
Yeah, the
would have
stakes are
then.
high.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's to me fascinating that something as important as a citation could be a hallucination. Like
Oh,
to
yeah.
me,
And actually,
that
that was like
seems
the
like,
early time. You've had lawyers go into court with bad citations. You've had scientific papers. A lot of these, I mean, there's tons of research papers that come out in AI that end up having hallucinated citations. And it doesn't mean necessarily that the ideas of these papers are off, but it means that when it was AI assisted, the shortcuts did not pay off. Like
right,
they should have
right.
checked their citations.
That's really fascinating. And a
It's
whole nother level of crap,
yeah, yeah.
that can be out there that can
And building in
further.
that pessimism, which how do you do that while at the same time we tell people, look at all the time you're going to save, look at the value of this, but don't trust anything I say.
I'm not that pessimistic though. Like I have
Yeah.
seen huge value in the limited number of things that I've done, like Google Lens. I don't think of that necessarily as AI, but that's absolutely AI. When I'm out birding and I'm like, oh, what the heck
Yeah.
was that bird's name? And I know the birder I was with told me the name, but heck if I'm going to remember it. And I can go through those images and just quickly, but then again, I'll check the images and I'll be like, okay, is that actually correct? And that seems really accurate, but I'm still going to check it because I don't want to publish a photo like to Instagram or whatever and say it was a blah, 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 and it's not, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, and maybe that's just the pessimist in me that has seen the bad information, so I'm less reliant, I'm less likely to just forward or post or trust.
I think it's a good instinct to keep indefinitely.
Yeah,
And I also think it's going to be easier for folks that already have experience in the domain space to do that
true.
because you'll have enough meta, you'll be like, that doesn't
That
seem quite right. And
doesn't
that
seem
happens
quite
all the
right.
time. But
Yeah,
if you have no idea about the subject,
right.
that's really where it gets problematic.
And that's
Because
why you'd have to have at least two or have this.
yes. And so I do that. I generally do that where it's like, if this is not my domain area, I get a couple of opinions. And
Yeah.
and by the way, it's fun because it's interesting. You actually learn more because you will
Right, because
get different
will they debate and stuff?
yeah. Oh, you can get debates. let's all right, let's I want to get to Claude Code and the debate thing.
No, sure, please.
I'll just say kind of like as a in between that, I do use Google AI Studio and NotebookLM quite a bit. So let's just add those and then we'll get to Claude Code.
That's not Google Gemini, is it?
Gemini, it does use the Gemini models behind the
Okay.
scenes. So Google AI Studio, think of it as like I'm a developer and I want to build AI apps, and it basically surfaces the knobs and the ways to select things if you want to use image models, if you want to use text models. But I'll just give a few use cases that just so you're aware, because I like it because you can set things like the temperature. Like um,
Tell
like
me
there's a
more,
concept of
Joe.
temperature. Yes. So there's a concept of temperature where the beauty of an LLM call is its creativity, right? It's randomness. It's not deterministic, it's
Right,
probabilistic.
right.
And so if I ask it something, I'm going to get a different response each time. And it's also crazy making because you're like, I want to create an invoice. And every time you create the invoice, it does it just a little bit differently. Unless you say, no, 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 I want you to do it like that, because that's the nature of it. It's supposed to be a
Right.
little random. And
Yeah.
if you move that temperature up, the more off model it gets, the more like the distribution changes,
Okay.
and you will get wild, improbable responses. Okay.
Okay.
Now, if you are doing taxes, you want to move that sucker all the way to the left, and you do
Yeah.
not want wild. You want deterministic.
I
And
want
so,
not to
like
be audited by the IRS.
No. And so if I'm having to look at a Google sheet, like a spreadsheet, I will move temperature as far to the left as possible because I just want you to look to see if anything doesn't balance. Like I want
Right,
you to look through
right.
my spreadsheet, or I want to make sure that you didn't miss a single fact that I asked you to look at. And so Google AI Studio has all the knobs, not that many knobs, but a few knobs to configure things. But you can use it like if somebody has a document with like 522 comments in the Google Doc, you could attach the Google Doc into it and go, okay, create a table in Google AI Studio, and you should create a table. Show me each comment and the actual paragraph where it was, and then give me a little bit of framing. What are your thoughts? This person is saying, is this a fair comment? Should I dig into this more deeply? And it'll and by the way, I had like one coworker who incredible genius, but oh my God, so many comments. And so I needed to literally lay out all of his
Reconcile all the
comments so
comments.
I could
Yeah.
just do it because some of them were all part of the same feedback over 50 comments.
Right,
And so it'd
right,
be like, okay, so then you could say, hey, Google AI Studio, group these so I can do a
right.
cohort of response instead of like answering 50 times. Say,
Exactly.
hey, here's the general thing. So Google AI Studio is like working with the parts. It's particularly friendly, no surprise, with Google Documents.
Okay.
Notebook
You know,
LM,
that
yeah.
that
Oh, no,
reminds
please.
me, I'm just wondering, one of the features that I've actually really liked on Amazon is when I go to reviews and it has the summarized AI version of the review where it takes sometimes thousands of reviews and ends up going, customers really like X and Y and Z, but find
Yeah.
blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, this is now generalized this product
Yeah.
for me. Let me look at two other comparative products and then I can, so I was thinking about that. That's also very cool that you do that with a document with the comments and then you're kind of reconciling down the comments to be, the
Yeah,
summary
group them,
of
make it more efficient because otherwise you could
exactly
spend. Now, by the way, there's
days.
dangers there, right? Because you're saying, hey, Gemini in this case, pull forward what you think is significant in your interpretation. But the good news is I've already read through, like I'll do a
Right.
scan through.
It's not the only thing you're doing. It's the
No,
thing you're doing to augment,
it's
the
the,
review.
so my
And
rule, by the way, heuristic number one, is it tedious? Like when I have to approach something, am I like, oh God, then I go to AI. That's my
right.
rule. Okay. So to me, going through 150 comments, sorry, I don't care how wonderful those comments are. That's an oh God moment because I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, 50 comments I have to go through. So anything I can do to make it easier, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And now the part where if I'm excited about it, like taking a concept and writing about it, or just all the different things where it's like exploring an idea, keep that yourself. Use AI to help scale it, but
Mhm.
don't hand that to AI.
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
start with the drudge.
yeah.
So that's Google AI Studio, and then just one last one. I mean, and then we'll go to Claude Code, which is the everything is NotebookLM, and that's a free another
Oh,
Google
that's
tool.
not on the list.
No, and it is amazing, and it's been amazing for a while.
Notebook
And
LLM.
Notebook LM, yep, Notebook LM, and you basically create these notebooks. I'm opening it up here. Yes, Notebook LM with LM uppercase. What you do is it's for study. Okay, so you can open up
I
a
need
new
this. I
notebook.
know I need this already.
Yeah.
We've
Oh,
talked
and,
a
and
little
it
bit about this of just like
so many
keeping
use
your
cases here.
thoughts. Yeah.
Okay, so many use cases. So I want to study, like I have one notebook here on something called CiteRag, a benchmark for retrieval augmented academic citation prediction. Okay, so it was a very, very dense academic paper from the archive, all these different very dense papers. And what I will do is I will put it into a notebook and then it does retrieval augmented generation to pull it into the context. And the nice thing is that you can make it so that it only pulls, it's not a fact unless it's in the documents that you provided. So I
Okay,
could say,
that's good.
here's my canonical set of resources,
Right.
and then you can chat with those resources without having the rest of the world pollute it necessarily. Because
Wow,
sometimes you
that's
you get
cool.
these, yeah, you could get like, here's my, and by the way, this becomes valuable for corporate stuff, or like if you're allowed to, things that are unique to you that it's not known by the model or it's not something that could be pulled from the web. But I will then use it. You can do things like create a mind map. I'm just looking over here, flashcards, infographic, video overviews where somebody does a video overview and discusses it, slide decks, quizzes, audio overviews in podcast style. So you can have two people chatting about it. And so there have been many times where I'll take a very dense topic and I'll first start with the infographic and then I'll move to create a slide deck because I like working through the slides. And
Yeah.
then I will do a podcast, and then I will download that to Dropbox and listen to it at the gym. And by the way, the podcast, it's cool, but it's also cloying. So their podcast is like a lot of it's still very AI, like it's you have to train that and give it a prompt to go, hey, just the facts. Like don't like let's
So
not do
it
the whole thing.
generates a podcast. What does it use for the voices? Can you choose? Like, can you say, I want a
It
podcast of
randomizes
two
it.
women or.
It randomizes it. So like if I go here to like I'll just kind of verbally talk through
So
this,
this
but if I do
isn't
like
an actual podcast. It's generating the
it
podcast.
generates it. So it'll do like there's a lively conversation between two hosts. You can choose brief, a bite size. You can set the length short, long. I have a system prompt that I always add for these, and I want to just pull it up. My prompt says, create a single narrator audio overview that sounds like a calm expert lecturer, not a chatty podcast. Otherwise, it sounds chatty podcast. Which, by the way, the irony here that we're having
I
a
know
chatty
that we're
podcast,
talking
and I'm
about.
like, but I don't want to listen to it. Speak in a neutral, professional tone for an audience that already understands the basics and wants dense, high signal explanations. Do not use a co-host, small talk, jokes, personal stories, or calls back to action. Stay tuned. So basically, not our podcast.
Not our pet.
Yeah, just the facts, ma'am. But I add that because a lot of these research papers are totally like it's fillers and it's ums and it's ahs and a lot of AI-isms where it's like it's
Yeah.
not this, it's that. Like there's lots of like just things that when you start hearing it for the eighth time, you're like, oh my God, just tell
Just
me
give
what
me
the
the
paper's
facts.
about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and when you're learning something like that that's so dense, you
You
don't
got to
want
get into
you
it.
don't want the chattiness, like this is
Yes.
fun. This is another alternative way for people to hear about things, to learn about things,
Yeah.
to pull interesting nuggets. But when you're doing something dense, you don't want it to be
You don't
fluff.
want it. You
Yeah.
don't. Yeah. And so I will do that
Not
for a
that we're
lot of deep
fluff.
research
We're not
papers.
fluff.
I'll put it in to NotebookLM, and that will be my starting place. And then Claude Code is where I actually get hands on. So I'll look at a
Interesting. Okay.
concept, and if I really, really like that concept, I'll want to try it myself and enter Claude Code. I'll pause there though. Anything about NotebookLM?
No, I'm kind of intrigued.
It's free,
So
by the way. NotebookLM's free. You can get you do get benefits if you pay for like the Gemini thing, but you get a lot for free with NotebookLM.
it's not a way for you to create. Well, can you create notebooks on? Well, I guess you could create
You can
the
share
notes.
notebooks. Yeah, you can create notebooks. You can
I've got
export out
that.
the
I'm gonna
videos.
start looking at that like
Yeah,
immediately
but I mean,
because I love that.
it's some people use it for to-do lists. Honestly, like
I
some people
know.
have really done
And
a
it,
lot with
maybe
it.
I bet you can do things like order this, or I mean, I don't know. I have to think about this, but I like that idea too because I just sometimes feel like I'm all over the place with what I like to do and how I like to do those things, and I sometimes learning what should I learn first, what might be
Yeah,
beneficial to know before I do this, or I can think of a bunch of stuff. Okay, no, I'm
the only
super
thing
excited
I have
about
to
that
warn
one.
you out is you'll get a ton of like I'm just looking over here. I have so many notebooks, but the way is then it just hangs over me, and then when I'm on an airplane somewhere, I'm like, okay, you better get through 5 of these, and so I'll get through
Yeah.
5 of them, but again,
Oh, cool.
what's the use case? The use case is you have constrained RAG, you have a way to really learn. The quiz stuff is fantastic. Like even if I know I really need to know about something, it's a great way to keep your mind moving.
Yeah,
And so when it quizzes you, you're like, did you really understand the topic? So it
right.
challenges you. And so it really is like if I had had this in college, who knows? I might have broken 3.0 GPA. Yeah.
Yeah, I do
So
find
not a great
learning
student
today
at the
is
time.
no,
Yeah.
I wasn't either. And I really do find that when I found the things that I loved and I loved learning, it was amazing, like
Yeah.
SQL and things like
That
that.
was
But
100% my case too. Yeah.
yeah, and so the things that kids do not understand on what we had to go through.
Yeah.
I'm just
Back
so
in our
jealous.
day.
But at the same time, they don't have that knowledge that we have to be leery of the recommendations. So I mean, there's pros and cons on both sides for sure. This is
Yeah.
fascinating to me. Okay, so a couple things before you go back to Claude, because I know you
Yeah.
love Claude
Which, by the
Code.
way, Claude Code could be its own episode if you wanted to. Seriously, it's that the Claude Code has been life changing. Honestly,
Well,
it's that good.
and I know because I talked to you about 6 months ago, I want to say, maybe it wasn't, but you had told me about some POC that you had done with some benchmarking, and you had Claude Code do some things for you that historically would have taken us, like a week to do, and you said it was a matter of hours.
Yeah,
And
that's
it
exactly
did.
right.
Yeah, so maybe we do want to leave that one
Let's do
for
that.
a
Let's
whole.
do that. It'll be worth it. And it'll be worth it, I think, for anybody listening to this. And by the way, I think just in the last month, or more, Claude Code Word has gotten out. I think what happened is people went on holiday break and they finally had a chance to try it out. And so all of a
Yeah.
sudden people are like, oh my God. And it differs from all these other vibe coding tools in many different ways.
Okay.
And there are equivalents over in the ChatGPT land and the Gemini land. But I mean, I kind of doubled down on Claude Code starting in August is when I'm like, okay, I'm not
And that
going
sounds
back.
about right. Like I
Yeah,
said, 5 or 6 months ago, like we talked about this, and I remember thinking, oh my God, that's amazing. So,
yeah,
yeah, I think a whole podcast. I was just going to read out some of these other ones, and you can
yeah.
say
Please.
whether or not you've used them or have any. So, Midjourney, a
Yeah,
leading
yeah.
tool.
So Midjourney
Okay.
for visualizations, and
And it says art.
I've a fool with that, but I've done most of the Google ecosystem ones when it comes
Okay.
to visualizations. So
Is that Nana Banana or something
Nano
like that?
Banana, yeah, is the nickname for one of the models. So for
Okay.
that, and by the way, I shared my system prompt with Paul because he liked the visualizations I was creating for the course. Did he tell you
Okay.
that? Did he?
I do remember he said that you were using AI to help with some of the visualizations, which was
Yeah,
really cool.
so I created a very specific kind of sketch style that I liked, and it took like that actually took a long time of like, here are the colors, here's the style. Also, it's like a whole pipeline. So I'll go, here is the concept that I'm looking for. Give me a few options here. So
That's so cool. I mean,
yeah, and it finally got it to exactly the right thing, but it's like many pages long
right.
of my
Of
style, and
training
then I
it to
use
do
that
the
for my
model that you want. Yeah.
exactly, and you could see examples like on my Substack posts, you'll see that you'll see it in the visualizations in Vector Search Essentials. You'll see it in the course I'm doing Vector Search in practice. It's
Yeah.
all the same kind of sketch style, same three different color palettes, minimal like words, trying to do like abstract
Yeah. Yeah.
visualizations, but not overkill and not using a lot of the cliches for AI, but like just kind of this is the thumbprint that I liked.
Right.
But the whole workflow I built through Claude Code, and then it
Yeah.
uses Google Gemini's Nano Banana to
Wow.
generate it.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. CapCut, an AI
Yeah.
powered video editing tool, which I
Yeah.
don't, do you have a lot of it? But
No,
I
but it's
wonder
pretty
if that would
popular.
be good for me for
Give it a
all these
try.
videos
Yeah.
that I have for years of critters and just pulling the salient parts out. And that sounds
Yeah, that's a
amazing.
popular one. I have not used that,
I was going to say,
but
I can't
very
imagine.
popular.
Okay, character AI focuses
No,
on
I've heard of
AI
it.
driven
Haven't used it.
storytelling. Okay, I can't imagine, yeah, engaging narrative experiences. Of course, I'm shocked that the Copilot search listed Copilot as one of the top 10.
That is
But
very
again, I
surprising.
think because of ease of use, accessibility, it's right there. Quillbot, a paraphrasing
Hmm.
tool that enhances written content, making it easier to improve clarity and style. Any? Okay, and then the last one was DeepL, renowned for its highly accurate AI translations, making it a go-to tool for multilingual communication. Okay, so again, I can't see a lot of reasons for you,
Yeah.
but having just been in a Spanish-speaking country, and I was using Google Translate every now and then, but I was amazed at how great most people were with their English anyway in Costa Rica. But yeah,
I
that
would just say the things I didn't mention before we get to Cloud Code, then like that weren't on your list. Olama is the other thing. So downloading Olama to be able to run language models locally on your system.
okay. Llama.
So, for example, on this latest course, Vector Search and Practice, we'll use Olama to do the embedding models. So BGEM3 is the embedding
Okay.
model that we'll use to actually do the embeddings and then insert into SQL Server. You can also use Olama to do a large language model calls, like a lot of like Quen, different models to actually do not just embedding, but the actual language model interactions.
Okay.
So Olama's another one
How
that
much?
I've been,
Sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
No,
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 go ahead.
please.
Well, just so again, I'm much more limited. AI is something I'm really just starting to get into, which is why I love these discussions. But I was reading that Google Lens did have an API that you could write using Python code to have it, like, let's say, walk through all of my images. My question is, could I go to Claude Code to write the Python code to use the Google
Yeah.
AI?
I mean, I'm just using Claude Code to write. It's like ready to wear or completely bespoke software.
Oh,
So
this is
I
amazing.
create, so I use Claude, like if it doesn't exist, I use Claude Code to build it. And then it's also like some of these things get thrown away, like it might be a one-time deal. We'd already talked earlier about the photo app. That's not a one-time. I continue to use that. I continue to update it. And even in cases where, you have like I have a lot of GitHub private repos, like a lot of just internal projects, like, okay, here's like a tax organizer. Like one of the
Right.
things is I have a scanner, okay, and so any document I get, I scan it, put it to a Dropbox folder, and I'm lazy about it. So there might be five different things that are, it's five different subjects, right? I just scan them all and it's one PDF. I built a Claude Code application that goes, looks in the internals, splits them out, gives a nice name, gives the right organization, puts it in the subfolder that I'm looking for.
And I just think, I mean, I open up Acrobat, I go to edit PDF, I'll save as, save as, save as. And that tedious little task, which, it takes no brain cells, and it's something that I've done a million times before, but that's still like a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes in
Yeah.
some cases
And
that I'm
then think of that,
wasting.
how that adds up. But I
Right.
will say this, by the way, I was very intentional in saying I put it to Dropbox because if it ever deletes everything accidentally, which
Uh,
it can, I have a restore. Okay.
Holy crap.
So yeah, which by the way, there was a time when I was doing like photo embedding experiments and it deleted a bunch of stuff. And I said, whoa, what happened? And it said, oh, you said that you didn't want to do that experiment. So I cleaned up after myself. And
Okay,
so I said, no, 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 no.
get
But
that back.
again, I know that any kind of risk, it's the agentic risk. You put an
Yeah.
agent in charge, you better have a backup. And
Okay.
so in this
That's good
particular
to
case, I
know.
was able to retrieve it from Dropbox. And then at that point, I told Claude Code, add to your rules that you never do a destructive act like that without checking with me, even as an
Wow.
assumption.
And so when you work with Claude or any of these, because you keep saying you add to your rules,
Yes.
with the paid versions, I assume you start to have layering of what you
Yes. Yeah.
want on. Okay.
Yeah. So I have a few different things, and we could talk about it. There's Claude MD, which is like think of it as like here's my comprehensive list of rules when you interact with me, and then you can have skills. So I have
Okay.
different skills, like my sketch skill I just told you about. Like
Yeah.
when I say I'll say, hey, use my sketch skill to create an image based on this slide, and it
Okay.
knows what to do. So it'll pull it into memory, and it goes, oh, I have an API call here to open router, which then
Okay.
can connect. We could talk about open router in a moment, and then generate. And I put that here because that's what's in the skill file. So you can invoke different skills. There's PDF skills, Excel skills,
Wow.
PowerPoint
Okay.
skills, and so
I
you
just,
basically
it's
create those
insane.
skills whenever it's something that's like a reusable task that you're going to do over time,
Right, right,
not throw
right.
away.
Oh, I can think of so many things. And I love the idea of you taking the sketch style and the style that you want and the color theme that you want and the personality that you want, and
Yeah.
then saying, go look at the slide, tell me what you think. And then even that, you can be like, no, I think I want it to be this or that. Because I had some experience with a logo that I was creating. And I was like, yeah, okay,
Mm.
that's good, but that doesn't feel right to me. Change that, change that. And I was amazed, like in 5 minutes, I had something that I thought really represented what I wanted. And I was
Yeah.
amazed.
And you wonder, and by the way, so, and then we'll put a pin in that, but that, when you have that interaction, let's say you were doing that on Claude Code, what you then want to do is say, capture the lessons learned over our discussion.
Okay.
So then it saves off and it can do that to Claude MD. Some people use like actually a lessons MD, the MD being markdown file, but you could say, save to my lessons what we learned from this session. So it could say, Kimberly likes it when it's this color, and Kimberly
Yeah.
didn't like it when it was solid line, but liked it when it was kind of hatched, and liked
Yeah.
it when it was this size, but not that size. So it will remember those if you wanted to,
You're right, right, right.
and then you have it preserve it. So we'll get back to that one. That's a
No,
good
that's
one.
awesome. Okay. Well, is there any other AI tool that you would say?
Yeah.
somebody should start with or look at? I mean, this is an
Okay.
amazing list. It feels like ChatGPT, the Google Suite, the Claude Suite, and NotebookLM are probably some of your top starters, right?
I would say so. If I was desert island choice, like I get to pick one, Claude all day.
Yeah.
Claude all
Okay.
day.
Okay.
And then if you're a student, NotebookLM is such an amazing free
Yeah.
resource because it's just really like there's no excuse not to learn everything with that kind of thing.
Well, and I just
Um,
think of like Katie, who is in college working on her PhD, how she could take Notebook LM, and I'm going to ask her if she does this or knows of it, and throw a bunch of papers that, let's say, she's working on parallel ideas or whatever, and say, give me the salient points. Like, I can just think of so many unbelievable uses for Notebook LM. Like, I'm telling you, as soon as we're done with this, that's going to be one of the first things I start
you're going to have
playing
so much
with.
fun on it. And by the way, the
Yeah.
fact checking is the one I really like too, because sometimes you'll go, well, wait, I just put it in the PDF, but I can't find like it's like especially these research papers. Sometimes it's like 40 pages long,
Yeah,
and you're
exactly.
like, wait, I can't find where that was cited. And you go, can you find anywhere where it says 31% improvement? And it'll go, oh, if you run this equation, you'll get 31%. So it can even
Wow.
do math on the inferred stat that might have been on a different blog post somewhere.
I
So
think
it's very powerful.
I'm laughing because I think to Gertz Graffa and his paper on sorting techniques for VLDBs. And, I jokingly said to him, I got about 10 pages in and that was all I really needed. I didn't need a lot of, and I said, sorry, but I didn't finish it. I said to him and he goes, I don't think anybody has. And that's funny to me because now I can think of all these, even SQL Server white papers that I
Hmm.
can throw in, hashing and sorting techniques and just, give me the synopsis of which of these things are in SQL Server and then tell me a brief description on how that would work on this kind of data. I mean, I could just imagine how many cool things that I could pull from that. So anyway, sorry,
Yeah,
I'm,
it's again, I've loved it. I mean, Notebook LM, I think even was like a side project. It was like one of those think weeks or whatever, where the Google employees get like a little bit of time to do something on the side, and it ended up
yeah.
being a breakout hit. It actually saved their reputation. Not like they would have been fine no matter what, but like
Yeah.
remember there was a time when their AI models were not, they were falling behind.
Yeah.
ChatGPT really was way ahead. Then there was like a big debacle about like them creating bad images and strange images. So all of a sudden Notebook LM comes out from the side and people are in love with it. And
Yeah.
they just roll with that. One bonus one before we finish
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Now this moves from civilian to like, the non-normie use case, but I just want to bring it up. It's called Open Router.
Okay. Open
And
rep.
it's basically it's allowing you a centralized place if you're going to use API calls from your programs to try different models. It has a bunch of different models and you basically go to one place. So Open Router, think I can use that. I have one API key. I pay them credits. They add a few
They
dollars on top
pay
of
the
it.
other people.
Exactly. So when I was doing the LLM Council based on Andre Karpathy's, original concept, I was calling four different model providers at one point.
Well, at least you thought
And
you were.
yeah, at least you thought it was. Yeah, originally until I was lied to.
Yeah.
And so then it literally can allow you to do it instead of saying API key for this one, this one, this one, this one.
Right.
And so it
So
it
it
keeps your
takes care of
sanity if
that
you move
extra
into the
step for
world.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's free models you have access to on this. So like there's a lot of open source ones where you're not even paying for the
Yeah.
call. There's embedding models, there's regular
I like
LLMs, there's
that.
multimodal and so on. So
Okay.
Open Router, once you cross over from using something in a browser to actually trying to program things, including using, vibe coding, I
Wow.
found to be very, very a real unlock and simplified things.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I need to learn all these things so that I can make some of my learning and some of my other things less daunting. But I do feel like once you do have a good grip on a few of these things and you can better trust the results, because I think that's I think that's why I've been slow to jump onto AI. I don't think I have trust issues, but the more I've been chatting with you, the more I feel like I have. But I just think there's so much bad information out there that I've been reluctant to just trust these models to tell me everything that's perfect. And of course, then hearing about things like hallucinations makes you think,
Yeah.
okay, I do have to worry. But then hearing about things like Open Router is very cool, because if you're going to be writing something or trusting something from a work perspective, or a paper perspective, if it's some type of study that you're doing, I think then you can start to be a lot happier with what you're getting. That it just seems so cool. So yeah, and the Notebook LM sounds really fascinating.
Yeah, let me know
I'm
what you think
definitely
of
gonna
that when you
yeah,
get a chance.
for sure. All right, Joe. Another one,
Yeah, that
and
was fun.
lots of great tools. Lots of great
Thanks,
tools.
Kimberly.
I'm actually excited to talk about Claude Code in our next ones.
I am too.
Yeah,
By the way, everybody, all my friends at parties are like, "Oh God,
here
not
he
Claude
goes
Code again.
again.
Come on." Yeah.
Well, that's okay, Joe. You can save
Thank you.
all your AI geekiness for me and for our podcast. So,
Thank
all
you.
right,
That's very
Joe.
nice.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
All right, bye.